Hello everyone, my name is Avuva, and in this video I will be showing you how you can make your own website using I2P and how others can access it using the I2P software. So first, you're going to have to install Java. Now I'm going to show you how to install Java from the web, but most likely, like all the GNU plus Linux distributions, will have the Java installable from the main repository. Make sure not to click on any advertisements or any other nonsense if you are searching on the web. For example, here in the Wikipedia they usually have the correct link, so do that for example. So yeah, just make sure not to click on any viruses from the web search engine. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna install the Java from the website. I'm going to click on this one, but you can also see how there are other operating systems also available. So I'm going to save it, and you can see it's downloading. Let's wait for it to download. Right, and then we can close the web browser for now. Now you want to go to the downloads, so there's your home folder, so it most likely looks like this. Then you have your downloads where you download the file. You want to extract it here, so let's just extract it. Now you can see it extracts and it creates this. You can then delete that downloaded file, that one, and after you've extracted it. And now you can see this directory appears with all these contents. So basically what you can do here is, what you need to do here is there's a couple of ways to do this. You could create an environment variable where the files are accessible with an environment variable in the shell, but that's too complicated for the sake of this video. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm gonna just cut. So basically select all of them. So basically select all the files here, select the contents and cut. So don't copy this one, not this one, no. Go in there and then select all of these. So the contents, cut them. Right, so cut. Then go to your home folder, and here, if you don't see in your file manager the files that begin with the dot, the hidden files, hit Ctrl H on your keyboard and these when they appear like so. Go into .local and then you can paste in here. So confirm the action. We want to write all the contents here. That's basically the simplest way you can do this. By default, this should work by just pasting them here into .local. There is some chance that it might not work. In that case, you would need to create an environment variable for .local bin. You would need to look that up, how to create an environment for home/user local bin, .local bin. But most of the time the environment variable should be set already by default. Anyway, yeah, that's that. Now Java has been installed, basically. So let's confirm that by opening terminal. It's called console here in KDE. So if I type Java, you can see how it spits out the stuff. That means that Java has now been successfully installed. Then now we will open the web browser again. This stupid pop-up keeps showing up, ignore it. It just shows up here on the OpenMontriva distribution for some reason. So yeah, now we are going to get to the I2P software. So this is how we install I2P. So get I2P. Again, make sure not to click on any weird malicious links. The proper link is this one here at the top. You can see get-i2p.net. That's the proper link. And then there's the big green button here. Now you can make note of this line here, Java jar and then the file name. You can make note of this one. Look at that. That's the command we are going to run after we have downloaded this. So then there's the button to download. Again, make note of the operating system you are using. There are likely other operating systems you can choose from, so available here. So I'm going to download this one that I'm going to use. Wait for a moment until it starts downloading. There's some moment you need to wait. Now it has downloaded. It's about to start downloading now. So click save. or whatever it asks you. Now it has downloaded, right? And that's all the stuff we need to download from the internet with the web browser. Now we can close the web browser for good after the download is complete. We don't need to go there anymore. Now in the downloads, you will see the new file. This should be empty now, right now, because you moved the .local earlier, so you can delete this right now because this is no longer necessary. It's now just an empty directory. Now, after you've downloaded this, do not extract this. It has the option to be extracted, so don't get confused. Do not extract this. This is not necessary to be extracted. Do not extract this. If you extract this, then that's a mistake. Do not extract this. So what you want to do instead is you want to open a terminal and make sure that you are in the home and your username and downloads. So the way you can do that is you can go cd and write that symbol and then downloads. So that takes you to the downloads. So just make sure that you are in the terminal at your downloads. Now don't get scared of the terminal. We don't need to run any complicated terminal commands. All we are going to do is basically just run the Java file with the terminal. That's all we are going to do. So don't get scared, there are no complicated terminal commands here. It's just Java. You say jar, because you can see it's a jar file, basically. Just you could like think of it that way. Then the file name, so if you start typing it and hit tab, it will autocomplete. So that's the command. That's the only command we need to run to install I2P. So you don't need to get scared of the terminal. That's the only thing we run. Only this command. It's very simple. Then you just hit enter. And then the rest of the process uses this graphical environment, so we can hide this. So don't close it. Do not close it. Just we can hide it, minimize it. I'm just going to minimize it. It's still there. It's still running in the background. I've just minimized it. I will close the file manager for now, so it doesn't get in the way. Right, so what you can see now, it opens this wizard, this installation software. The rest of the installation will be graphical. So like I said, the only terminal command we need to run is just to run the Java file. So the terminal is not really required for the installation beyond that. You can see it asks some stuff. It says it's public domain software, so this basically means that like it's not a terms of use. It just says that it's public domain. Public domain means that it's not copyrighted by anyone. So you don't need to agree to any terms of use. So that's a nice thing, nice benefit. I would suggest you keep everything by default. Everything as their defaults. Do not change any of these settings. It's not necessary. You can do so if you want to, for some reason, but then you just need to make note of the changes that you've made. But if you're gonna change things, then this is not going to be the exact same for you. You can't follow the exact same steps exactly the way I do them if you're going to change things. So I recommend you keep everything by default. You just keep hitting next basically, and then you just hit OK and it does its thing, and you just keep hitting next, and you just keep hitting next, and now it's done already. Done. That's how easy it is to install I2P, and I2P has now been installed. And then the next thing we need to do is, of course, we can close the terminal now. I did say that you don't need to use anything from the web anymore, but I will make one exception. I recommend you use a different web browser for accessing the I2P websites and such than the main web browser you have. So if Chromium here is my default web browser for regular web browsing, I recommend you have a different web browser for I2P usage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to librewolf.net and I'm going to download this. It doesn't really matter the specific web browser you use, but I recommend using this one. I'm gonna click on here, I'm gonna scroll down, and I'm gonna click on the app image. Now, it doesn't matter necessarily the specific web browser you use. I do recommend you use LibreWolf you should have like 2 different web browsers on your system now. So you can install the LibreWolf web browser. Also, you can delete this file now that you've installed I2P, so the YAR file you downloaded. I'm using GNU plus Linux here, so properties and permissions and is executable. Okay, so the settings might look different depending on which file manager you're using, but the way you can do it also on terminal, this is optional, but you can do it like this also. That's also possible. That's optional. You can also use a terminal. That works on every distro. But generally you can find the properties in the file manager, so that's the easy way to do it. Right, so this file, this app image file, does not need to be installed. I can just run it. So let's see, does the thing have it? Well, if I just click on it, left click. Yes, left clicking on it does run the file. So now you can see I've installed this LibreWolf web browser. So this web browser will now be dedicated for I2P, which means that I'm going to use the Chromium web browser here, this other one. So if I put them side by side, I'm going to use like this earlier web browser for regular web using, and I'm going to use the LibreWolf for I2P specifically, so I can show them side by side. So like this is for normal web browsing. Just in case someone doesn't have audio, I'm gonna type them here. So just to make that clear, you can have 2 different web browsers. I recommend using LibreWolf for the I2P, but it doesn't have to be LibreWolf specifically. So what we do here in the web browser is go to settings and then scroll down. There's the network settings option. In here, settings, click on manual proxy configuration, HTTP proxy 127.0.0.1. This may look very technical, but it's as easy as just doing this, and that's all. Click on manual proxy configuration, this number and this number, and that's it. Okay, now the web browser is ready to use I2P basically. But there is a couple more things we can do for added security and safety. So first, you can see here at the top right, there is this thing here. We can go to settings, scroll down a little. There you can see disabled JavaScript. That's a good idea. I will also click on these ones as well. Now that's just for added safety. And we can close it. And now another thing for more safety, which I recommend doing, is going to about :config, and here network to disable network to DNS to disable. Type that and double click on these 2, and then we are done. Now you don't need to do any more things. That's all there is to it. That's all the safety and security additions done. So then, no, basically the setup is mostly done, but the I2P software is not yet running. So if I put the web browser to the side like that, I go to the file system, back to the main home directory, increase this again. Let's see, Control H to hide those files, the hidden files. Now you can see that this new directory has appeared here. This happened when I installed I2P with the installer, the wizard, where I clicked next, next, next. That created this directory here. Click on it. You can open the terminal here. So again, that is the path. So you can do CD and then that path if you want to. But that's not necessary. You can just use the file manager. Anyway, so here, I did say that you don't need to use the terminal for installing, and that is true, except for that one step. But we are no longer installing I2P, now we are running it, and this requires, again, just one terminal command. So don't get scared of the terminal. The terminal is not that scary. All you need to do is just // specifically, and then say I2P router and then space start. And that is the only command we run. Run that and it does its thing. And then you can just wait for a moment. Now, most likely the I2P will start in your default web browser again. Ignore that weird thing. So we are using the Chromium here again. So I'm gonna hide all this stuff to get rid of the clutter. You can close the file manager. Now you can see here's the librevolve. And you can also close the terminal now. Only run this command and then you can close the terminal. Now I have the librevolve here on the side again. Most likely this will start here by default. It doesn't matter which one you use for this thing. You see, you can do both in either web browser. This website, that is, you see, whenever this says 127.0.0.1, that means that it is running on your local machine, your own computer. This is not, this website here, that is visible on both of these, this is not visible to anyone else. No one on the internet can see this page. This is only on your computer. That's what 127.0.0.1 means. Most likely, by default, it will show up in your default web browser. But it doesn't matter which one we use. But I'm gonna use librevolve because I'm gonna dedicate that for the I2P purposes so that we can avoid confusion. So I prefer using librevolve. So if it opens this one here, this Chromium one, if it opens this one or any other web browser you have by default, then just make sure to close it. Just close it like that and you can get it out of the way. So just use the librevolve that you installed specifically for this I2P purpose. It's preferable to keep everything I2P on one web browser. Now, all you need to do here again is basically just next. We are basically setting up the configuration. The I2P software is already installed. Now we are just configuring basically some of these options. So the dark theme, right? So now here you can do a bandwidth test. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to skip this. So I'm going to click skip. You should click next because you want to have your bandwidth tested. So you want to click next. Click next here. You should click next. I'm only going to skip bandwidth test because of the purposes of this video. For this video I don't need to do that. You click next. So it will basically by default set reasonable values for you for here, but I'm just gonna set good numbers here that I already know work in advance. So I'm just gonna say something like, I'm gonna set something like that just for the, then there's the ratio. It will show you the ratio or share, whatever it's called. You can basically keep it at whatever it is. Now, depending on how low your internet connection is, if you have a really bad internet connection, you can decrease this. Like if you have a really bad internet connection. But if you have a really high, very good internet connection, then you should keep it somewhere around, like a high number, somewhere like you could go as high as you can, like something like 90% if you have a really good internet connection. The higher this number is, the better your anonymity also in the I2P will be. But yeah, for the purpose of this video I'm gonna keep that rather low because for the purpose of this video it doesn't matter. For the video purposes I'm gonna set it, let's say, to 40. Then next. Yeah, it's just some basic stuff. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now I2P is running on your system. And one thing you have to remember is that anytime if you close I2P, so like there's the shutdown here, that's how you shut it down. And then there's also restart. So anytime you shut it down, again you have to go to your home directory with the file manager. Not .I2P. There's also another one, .I2P. Don't confuse these two. There is a .I2P and there is a I2P. There's two options, .I2P and just I2P. So again, Control H on the keyboard. So don't confuse those two. In I2P, again, this is the way you always start it. You open terminal. You can close the file manager. So always in here, you always run the same command, dot I2P router start. So this is right. So if you shut it down, like if anytime you stop using I2P, you shut it down. Right. So now I2P is ready. So for anyone who wants to visit any websites, this is basically the end of the video. You can copy this path here and add a bookmark with the name here so that you know that you can click on it, so you don't have to remember all this. You can basically add it as a bookmark. So anytime you open the web browser, you open with the empty page here, you can click on the bookmark here like this. So you can always get to here. So let's see if I can create a text file again. Well, actually that's enough. I can tap right here. So for anyone who only wants to visit this is Right, so the video ends here if you only want to visit I2P website. So I'm gonna show you how that works, of course. Again, you open your web browser. In my case, I downloaded the LibreWolf web browser, so I'm gonna click on this one, left click there, and it opens this thing. So this is the way you would visit any website. You can basically type its name, for example that one, but you have to make sure to write this one also, http://. You may need to wait for some time after you've just started the web browser. So again, if I open a new tab and click on here, it will take a moment. As you can see here, it has only been 6 minutes since I started this. You may need to wait for some time. Oh, and also another thing. If it says here that your network is firewalled, make sure that you go to your router's setting, so the router in your network, and you enable UPnP. So typically your router would be 192 and 168.0.1, something like that. So that is typically your router. You go to here, so enter to get your router. Then you type in your password for the router. So the router is typically the device in your house where there is the flashing lights and the antennas with in the device. So that's the router. So it has a password. You basically type in the password and then you just go through the settings and you find the option that says UPnP and you enable it and click save. And then your router has been enabled to work with UPnP. So that's also something you should be doing, and then this should be going away. If the issue persists where it still says network firewall, you might have some other firewall somewhere and you would need to figure that out for yourself. That's outside of the scope of this video. So basically you just need to find out how to make exceptions and rules for firewalls to allow the I2P traffic to get through. So in any case, you would need to wait for a few moments. If I refresh the page, it's now been 8 minutes. So it will take some time for the I2P to start working after it has been started. But once it has been running for a while, then it will work just fine. But after first starting it, it will take a few moments for it to start working properly. So let's try this again, and also make sure it's not a HTTPS, just HTTP. In fact, you might go to the settings and privacy and security, scroll down and disable this one. Yes, that's better because we don't need HTTPS, just HTTP. And now you can see how it goes to the site. So yeah, make sure to disable the HTTPS. The HTTPS gets in the way, that's bad. So now you can see this is now an example of a website on the I2P. So the way you can find websites on I2P is, again, if I close this thing and I open a new tab and I close that one, you can type not bob.I2P. Oh, sorry, again, I don't forget that you have to type the http:// This is kind of annoying, but that's something you need to do. Like so. And then just wait a moment for it to connect. Oh, and also, if it says not secure, like it will say, that's something you can ignore. The web browser isn't typically accustomed to going to I2P sites, so it doesn't know that they are actually secure. So the web browser is confused. If it says not secure, that just means that the web browser is confused. You can ignore that, it doesn't mean anything. The web browser just doesn't understand I2P sites and how they work. It's just confused, so that's why it says not secure. This is basically something you can ignore. This doesn't mean anything when you are using I2P sites. If it says not secure when you are visiting normal websites on the normal web, then this is a bad thing if it says not secure. But if you're visiting I2P sites, then you can ignore this. Right, so anyway, here you can see this website. So you can basically just scroll down here and there's a bunch of these links. If I increase the size of this web browser window, you can see all of these options here, like there's all of these options. You can basically just visit these websites. There's a bunch of websites here that you can visit. These are I2P websites. Yeah, and basically, like, you can just visit them. But now that's like as far as like just visiting the websites go. But I also want to show you in this video how you would create one of your own websites. I will not show you how it can be seen here, but I will show you how to create the website. Anyway, you can close this now. Basically, in the file manager, if you go to here, in your home folder again, if you hit Ctrl-H to show the files. Now, this time, the .I2P file, or directory, folder, whatever you want to call it. Here it says EEP site. Click on it. And then here, there is the directory called docroot. Click on it. And this will be your website. Basically, you can select all of this stuff, cut, and then just go to some file, let's say documents, and just create some junk directory. You don't need this stuff anymore, but you can still keep it here because it could potentially be useful for you to take a look at later. So where is paste? There, paste 4 items. So now I've pasted this here. So if you want to click on this, you can click on this and just see this. There's some instructions on. Although this stupid thing doesn't want to show it. Well, I don't know what that's about. But anyway, there's just some junk here. You don't necessarily need to worry about that. If I go back again to here, so you can see the path. This would be your username. So here, this is your website. So basically what you do is index.html. That is your website's main page. And now you need to learn HTML. So you need to look up some tutorial on the internet on how to do HTML. Because this is a HTML file. So I'm going to open it in a text editor. And basically what you want to do is just start writing HTML then. That's like the way this works. And if I just do like paragraph or and then close the paragraph, then like that's like some very basic HTML. Now if that's opened, again this stupid thing shows up. Now you can see in the web browser there's some text. That is basically now your website. But you need to activate this so that the other people on the I2P can also visit your website. So again, I'm going to go to the downloads where I have the LibreOffice web browser. I'm going to close the file manager. And now this thing that we bookmarked here, click on it. It takes you again to this router console. I'm going to enlarge the window. So here is hidden service manager. Hidden service manager. So here, this is the website. This is your website. There it is. So you can see it says there stopped. So that means it's offline. It says status, and the red one means that it's offline. It's not running. Now you can manually start it by clicking here, but I don't recommend you do that yet. Anyway, I recommend you first go here. You click on this, and then you click on this one. Automatically start tunnel when router starts. That is what you should do. And then you should give it a name still. There should be another tutorial probably somewhere out there in the internet, or you can follow one of those guides on how to register this host name to those websites I showed you earlier, like the NotBob, for example. You can register your known name there if you follow such a guide, but that's outside of the scope of this video. I'm not gonna show that here. So you can just call this whatever, like my awesome site. Just make sure that it's something that isn't used. So you can again reference that NotBob place. So you can go to the NotBob, this one, that thing. So you can go to this website again, and you can basically go through the ones here and see like if it's being used. But I'm not gonna bother with that now. Anyway, like, yeah, but just make sure that it's not used there. So you can come up with your own original name, and after you click that one, and also depending on how good your internet connection is, there's the tunnel quantity options. You can increase this higher depending on how much traffic you expect to have on your website. If there's lots of people visiting your website, you should have a higher number, like lots of people, very many people. And also depending on how anonymous you want to be on the darknet, how much anonymity do you need? You can basically reduce this if you don't need that much anonymity. 2 should be like good, it's reasonable, like that's already pretty high. But like if you're not doing anything particularly strange, like if you're just running your website, and like if you don't need really anonymity, like if anonymity is not your concern, then you could have as low as 1 basically. But 2 is like if you 3 is pretty high, but like yes, 2 is pretty good. So 2 is pretty good. A higher number for lots of people, very many people visiting your website. If only a few people very rarely visit your website, you can have a lower number. And then you can basically ignore the rest of this, but just make sure to scroll down to the bottom if there is like the save somewhere. Wait, no, there isn't. Apparently no. Apparently there's no save option. Wait, no, there is. Scroll down. That's also stupid how there's multiple scrolls. That's really weird. Like there's this one, and then there's the other scroll. Yeah, that's pretty stupid. Just make sure to scroll to the bottom so that you can see the save. Click on save. Always click save if you change anything. And now you can see that it's running here. I mean, it's not running, it's configured. And here you would click start. Start this tunnel. If you click on this start now, then your website will be visible to everyone out there in the internet. Anyone can visit your website. They will all see that page that I just showed you where there was that text, where it was just a blank page where there was in the top left there was just some text. Everyone on the internet will see your website if you click start here. That is the way this works, and I'm not gonna do that now because I don't need to, but yeah, I'm gonna close down this, and that's the end of this video basically. Also there's some options here. Apparently the I2P software makes this thing visible here. Anyway, I'm gonna stop I2P, I guess. Well, I don't need to, whatever. But yeah, that's this video. That's how you do that. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye.